Guys, I just completed my trip to Reykjavik, Iceland, and we're just going to talk a little bit about it because when I got there definitely was some things that caught me off guard and some things I want to share with you all, especially if you plan on visiting soon. Now, just real quick, if you hear some sounds, it's because I'm in a guest house and the couple in the room above me is getting it on. And they've been getting it on for a long time. I've been trying to wait for them to stop, but this guy, he's He-Man. I don't know if he's on some pills or what. If I see him tomorrow, I'm gonna ask him for some advice, but they're just not stopping. So, but we're gonna make the video anyways. But either way, let's start off with the first thing. The number one, well, how should I say this? A cardinal sin, one thing you should not do in Iceland, and the local people will tell you this is a big scam. And what I'm referring to is buying bottled water. That is a no-no in Iceland because the tap water is supposed to be some of the best in the world. I believe they don't add any extra chemicals. I mean, it's very high quality, delicious tap water, so much so that the locals will tell you bottled water is just tap water in a plastic bottle. That's all it is. And people will say that tap water is even better than the bottled water because you don't have the plastic to deal with. So the locals will tell you, do not buy bottled water. You are getting scammed. Bottled water is for the tourists, for the foreigners who don't know. Even when you go to restaurants, either two things is going to happen. One, there's going to be a self-service tap water station. So there'll be water in pitchers on a table, or if you order water, the person will come out with a glass bottle of water, but it will not be plastic. That is disrespectful to the people. So if you want to save money while you're in Iceland, bring a reusable water bottle to fill up. They have water stations too around the city. Now, another thing you should know is that when you're in your hotel, apartment, guest house, hostel, and you turn on the hot water in Iceland, there's going to be a bad smell that comes from the faucet. People describe it as a rotten egg smell, and it's true. However, the water's not bad. The pipes aren't bad. What's happening is that the water is heated with geothermal sources, meaning from the earth. The water is heated naturally under the ground from Earth's natural heat. And because of this process, and there's minerals and sulfur, the hot water is going to have that smell. The water is not bad. It's not toxic. However, it's not recommended for consumption. Basically, the hot water is for bathing. And if you want to drink the tap water, just turn on the cold water for 15, 20 seconds, and then you're good to go. You can drink the cold water, no problem, because that comes from a different source. All right. The hot water, cold water comes from two different sources. Next up, some of you guys probably didn't even know that Iceland has their own language. It's called Icelandic. It's supposed to be the closest to the old Viking language. And another thing I learned is that the word cheap doesn't exist in their language. Seriously, Reykjavik is pretty expensive. I'm going to list off some prices. Just keep in mind that some of the food prices may not seem that bad, but it's because one, I tried to find the cheapest places. And also, two, the portion sizes tend to be smaller. But let me show you what I'm talking about. So when I first arrived, the international airport is around 40 minutes away from the city center. And the taxi, I think an estimate for a taxi ride is around $120 to $150 US. However, there's a bus you can take from the airport to the city center. And I think there's only two companies, with one fly bus being the most popular, but that cost around $30 one way. The room I got was a twin bedroom in a guest house. I had to share the bathroom with others, but the great thing was each floor had a bathroom. And maybe I went during off season, but I never had to wait to use the bathroom, and it was always clean. Then when it comes to tour prices, I took a tour to go see some of the natural sights of Iceland, which there are many, and it was a 10-hour trip. We saw maybe 5 different places: waterfalls, glaciers, black sand beaches, and the total cost was like $109 US. Now to the food. Most of the time I bought food from a store called Bonus. I think that's kind of like that's the market everyone goes to get cheaper items. I don't know what to compare it to. It's not like a dollar store or anything like that, but maybe it's similar to, I would say, an Aldi's, for anyone familiar with that, or maybe whatever the cheap market you guys have in whatever country you're watching from. That's what it is. But bonus was a lifesaver. But let me give you the prices at some of the restaurants. So I had lobster soup that came with a side of bread. That was around $19. And yes, the portion size was pretty small. It was pretty small. So $19 for that. Had pancakes with a patty. Okay, you guys can see the size. That was around $17. Fish and chips, which were delicious. But as you see, around $21. But that was probably my favorite meal. And then I had Vietnamese soup. This was around $19. So yeah, as I stated earlier, the word cheap does not exist in Iceland. Moving along, I want to talk about what I saw in Iceland. And this surprised me a lot. I understand that Europe is a haven for many immigrants to go there looking for a better life, more economic opportunities, etc., etc. But I didn't think Iceland would be a part of that. When I hear about immigrants going to Europe, at least on the news, it's usually like England, Germany, France, where I've seen the videos of Paris. But just in general, I didn't think Iceland would be a popular spot because of its location. It's kind of, I'm not gonna say in the middle of nowhere, but it's like you have to pass up a lot of countries to get there. So I thought when I got to Iceland, it would just be all Icelanders. But nope, around 20% of the population are immigrants. So 1 out of 5, many of them being from, I want to say, Poland, Lithuania, Ukraine, and then you got other folks mixed in there. But it was pretty interesting because I was trying to interview some locals so I could hear the Icelandic language. But many times I would walk up to people, hey, are you from Iceland? I'm like, nope. Hey, you from Iceland? Nope. Hey, you from Iceland? Nope. So it was very surprising to realize that many people, especially in the city, aren't from Iceland. So I thought I would be the only foreigner or one of the few foreigners, kind of like when I was in Russia or when I was in China. But in Iceland, no, there was many foreigners, both living, working there, and also tourists. Also, here's something that a lot of people kept asking is that they heard there are no mosquitoes in Iceland. And I believe that to be true. I heard the same thing. I had my window open the whole time while I was there and no mosquitoes entered. But although there are no mosquitoes, I think there's something similar to them. I don't know what they're called. I definitely seen one of those insects on the bus. They look exactly like mosquitoes, and I hear they bite. The good thing is, I think they try to avoid humans. So mosquitoes, they come directly for us. They're looking to bite us and suck our blood. They're looking for humans. But these other insects, I think they try to avoid us. So basically, in summary, I don't think you have to worry about any biting insects in Reykjavik. Just a few more points on the list, one of them being the name. So if you look at a map, you'll notice Greenland is mainly ice and Iceland is mainly green. The story I was told, and the story many of you all were told, was that people that settled in Iceland didn't want others to come. So they said, let's call this place Iceland, so no one would come, and then call the other place Greenland, so everyone will go there even though it's mainly ice. That's the story I heard. But while I was in Iceland, I was told that no, the two names were created independently. They weren't named together. They have nothing to do with each other. Somebody got to Greenland and there was greenery there, like at least at the bottom, the southern point where the person arrived. And also that person wanted people to come, so he named it Greenland. The person who got to Iceland, I think the story goes, he walked up a hill or something and he looked out and saw a lot of ice. And so he just named it Iceland because that's what he saw. It wasn't, hey, I don't want anyone to come here. It's just, hey, I see a lot of ice. I'm going to call it Iceland. And there are some places, for example, there's a beach called Diamond Beach that has a lot of ice glaciers on it. I didn't get to go, but it's supposed to be very beautiful. So they have places where there's just random ice, sitting around. So that's how the islands supposedly got their name. And last but not least, you should be very mindful of when you go to Iceland because of its location being very north. The summers are long. While I was there, I want to say it didn't start getting dark until about 10:30 p.m. Meaning around midnight, it's not completely dark yet. I mean, and in the summer, there's supposed to be something called midnight sun where the sun never completely sets. So it's not completely dark out. There's just a little sun out. So the days are very, very long. Whereas in the winter, I hear it's the complete opposite. The days are very short. You might be thinking, well, I'm gonna go during the winter time, during off season to save some money. Well, that may be true, but you may lose out on time spent outside, unless you don't mind exploring things at night or exploring things in the dark. So summertime is going to be more expensive, but you'll have more playtime, more time to explore. Wintertime, going to be way cheaper, but you're going to have 30 minutes to go outside before it gets dark. Oh, and for the record, before I finish, everyone speaks English. Everyone speaks English, and it's really good. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. These are just some things I noticed while I was in Reykjavik, Iceland. Always had Iceland on my hit list, so I'm glad I had the opportunity to visit. I enjoyed my time, and if you're going to, hope this video has helped you. And remember, do not buy bottled water, okay? Do not walk around with bottled water. Everyone's going to look at you funny, and people might spit when you walk past them. It's just disrespectful. But again, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. And I'll catch you guys at the next video. Deuces.